She's the terrifying witch who flies in a mortar, lives in a walking hut decorated in bones, and devours those who disrespect her, whether they be heroes or innocent children. But Baba Yaga wasn't always a monster. Her journey from ancient goddess to folklore's most feared forest witch is stranger, darker, and far more human than the folklore suggest. Welcome to Vortex Mythology, where we uncover the often hidden truths of fascinating characters and myths. Let's begin. In the earliest days of her myth, Baba Yaga is not the straightforward villain that later tales made her out to be. She belongs to a world of ambiguity, a figure of tests and thresholds who embodies both danger but also possibility. She does not always destroy, but often grants the gift of fire, the water of life, and even rare moments of wisdom. Heroes who encounter her may also encounter her mysterious riders that were the white horsemen at dawn, the red horsemen at noon, and the black horsemen at night. Through them, she commands the rhythm of time itself, as though the hours of the day bend to her authority. Many scholars believe her imagery preserves echoes of older phonic goddesses and spirits tied to the underworld and the earth. Her oven, so often the place where she threatens to roast the unwary, may have been more than a symbol of terror. Some interpret it as a metaphorical womb, or even a portal to the underworld, a space that unites death and rebirth in a single cycle. The bones that appear in her stories, scattered around her hut or woven into her dwelling, could similarly hold a sacred meaning. The setting of these tales is just as important as the witch herself. To the Slavs, the forest was not an empty backdrop. It was alive with meaning, a liminal space between village order and wilderness chaos, between the safety of the known and the uncertainty of the unknown. And Baba Yaga ruled this threshold. Sometimes she helps those who approach with respect, destroying the arrogant ones. In certain traditions, she is not a witch, but three sisters, a triple form echoing ancient goddess figures of fate and death. Ambiguity defines her at every turn. She is both helper and devourer, mother and monster, a keeper of wisdom and a bringer of terror. And it is this balance that makes her eventual exile and transformation into pure evil so haunting. As Christianity spread across Eastern Europe, the older patterns of belief began to change. Spirits and deities that once belonged to the center of community life were gradually recast or displaced. This pushed Baba Yaga to the margins, in the deep forest far from human order where danger and mystery ruled. Her dwelling became one of the most memorable images in folklore, a hut that stands on chicken legs. At first glance, it seems absurd, almost playful, but its symbolism is profound. The hut turns on command, opening its door to some and closing itself to others, like a revolving threshold between life and death, safety and peril. To enter, the visitor must speak the proper words, as though performing a ritual to enter another realm. Inside sits Baba Yaga, who demands trials from those who want their wishes granted. Impossible tasks are set before the hero or heroine that can range from sorting mountains of grain, fetching water in a sieve, to enduring nights of terror. And she does not compromise on her rules. Those who fail are destroyed, but those who endure may receive the fire that sustains life, a horse that crosses worlds, or the guidance needed to complete their quest. Even her tools carry meaning. She moves in a mortar, a vessel of grinding and transformation. She guides herself with a pestle, an emblem of force and direction. With her broom, she sweeps away her own tracks so no one may follow. At this stage, Baba Yaga is fearsome but not yet wholly evil. She embodies the perilous justice of the wilderness, still carrying the remnants of her older, sacred essence. But she won't always stay the same, so subscribe if you want to know how her transformation happened. With the shift in ethical and religious worldviews, the older mythical figures were no longer seen through the same lens. Spirits that had once been liminal guardians or ambiguous powers were recoded as dangerous, sinful, or outright demonic. Baba Yaga's image shifted most dramatically. What had once been a role of testing worthiness became cast as a predatory, monstrous presence. Her hut stopped being seen as a ritual threshold, but as the home of an ogress. Around it grew the infamous fence of human skulls, whose eyes were described as glowing with fire. This grisly image made her less a keeper of passage and more an embodiment of death itself. The stories turned from lessons of endurance to cautionary warnings for children and families. Do not wander into the forest, or Baba Yaga will eat you. This shift may be attributed to Christian moral teachings which use stark contrasts of good and evil, and figures like Baba Yaga did not fit easily into that framework. Folktales recast her as a cannibal, an eater of flesh, the very opposite of nurturing motherhood. Instead of guiding heroes towards wisdom, she became the terror that marked the boundaries of village life. And yet, her complexity never vanished completely. Some folktales preserved traces of her older role. A respectful visitor might still receive her guidance. Those who greeted her properly may still get their wishes fulfilled. This tension kept her character alive in storytelling. She was both cannibal and counselor, both devourer and donor, but the broader cultural imagination kept viewing her as pure evil and the witch who haunted the woods. This is how Baba Yaga's story is not simply of a monster, but of a fallen guardian, and how, like so many ancient deities and pagan symbols, the wild, untamed nature of this woman, and all she represented, became a direct threat to the supposed order of an advancing society. For those in power, religion, especially Christianity, was used to control the public, cleverly recasting these once revered, often complex figures into monsters, witches and shadows, banishing them to the darkest corners of history. To this day, Baba Yaga remains one of mythology's most fascinating and hotly debated figures. Some folklorists suggest her hut on chicken legs may echo ancient mortuary houses built on stilts, or even symbolize a coffin, a shifting gateway to the underworld. It's evocative, but still very much up for debate. And like so many figures of feminine power, from Lilith to Mary Magdalene, from witches to goddesses long forgotten, her downfall is deeply symbolic. Modern eco-feminist readings reimagine Baba Yaga as a banished sovereignty of nature, exiled by patriarchal and Christian forces. It's not historical fact, but it's a powerful lens, one that gives her myth new meaning in the modern age. So there we have Baba Yaga, a liminal power exiled to the edges of human imagination, reshaped by faith, fear, and folklore into one of legend's greatest villains. Yet her story still whispers of protection, rebirth, and hidden wisdom, if you dare to listen. If you enjoyed this dive into the shadows of myth, don't forget to like, subscribe, and step further into the Vortex, where the old gods never really die, and the stories never stop haunting us.